don't learn to code. You're too late. I know that's not what you wanted to hear in 2026. And I know every YouTuber is still selling you the opposite, but I'm an AI engineer who's worked with Amazon, Apple, Meta, and Netflix. And I'd be lying to you if I told you the path I took 5 years ago is still the right path I would take today if I were to start over. The job market that rewarded learn to code is gone. The one replacing it pays better, has fewer applicants, and almost nobody is teaching it correctly. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly why learn to code is the wrong move in 2026, what's actually paying 200K plus right now, and why the people who keep ignoring this are going to spend the next 5 years wondering why nothing's working. The problem we see right now is that we have two opposite messages that we see that's going on in the world, or basically that's being sent out there right now. One of them is learn to code, and the other one is that AI is killing coding itself. So you have two opposing messages, completely different narrative. Now the thing is, neither side actually explains what's actually hiring in the market at the moment. So what really happened is that coding boom that peaked around the 2020, 2022 wave. You could see everywhere. Even myself was showing people how to code, and you had bootcamp explosions, and juniors basically flooded the market everywhere. And then, like anything else, it gets saturated. The market gets saturated, and hiring slows down, and then competition exploded. Right, everybody's doing it. It's saturated. You're no longer an outlier because it's now the common. That's the norm. Basically, at this point, the winners, they've already won. So what happened is the early movers, the ones who saw the opportunity and moved on it, they're the ones who benefited from this. And the reality right now in 2026, it's arriving after its peak, and the party's already ended for that, for coding itself. So let's reframe what's actually happening right now and where the real opportunity is. Now, I just mentioned earlier, coding 2020 to 2022 is pretty much where it was peaking right now, and it's kind of like on the downslide at the moment. But so it's too late for that. However, too late does not mean give up. All that really means is that you have to shift to the next opportunity. This is common. Something is popular, gets saturated, goes down, then the next wave comes in, right? All this really means for the real opportunity here is don't fight for a crowded market. Find the next wave early and jump on it. Tech moves in waves. We look at it in the past. We had web development, then it was mobile. Right now, it's AI. And every wave creates basically new high earners, because markets are urgently trying to find people who are able to leverage this and actually work with it. And the current wave right now is AI engineering. So why does this matter? Well, right now it's low supply and high demand. This is just simple economics you see here, right? You have the supply and demand curve right here. If I just write this out really fast, and then demand. We call that demand. It's really badly written at the moment, right? When you have low supply and high demand, usually that's what you see happen, and after it goes down. Right now we're here, where the demand's really high, but the supply is really low, and that's where the opportunity is. That's the market signals at the moment, and salaries are climbing fast because companies want to start moving aggressively to basically flood it and take advantage of the opportunity, the real opportunity, while it's here. Here's the thing where it changed everything for me, and the pivot that changed. So the important truth on my end is that I took the old path. That's why it mattered to me. In fact, my actual background and my previous experience, and I still do it to this day as well, though, is that I've been in computer graphics, visual effects, AAA games, shipped a lot of technology and work with it, and I lived through it. And that's actually when I saw the writing on the wall and everything is moving towards this new industry. And I saw timing is everything. And all the signs were there 10 years ago. Every company was moving towards this. And I just caught the wave early. And now we're at the age right now, and where everyone's seeing it now, where everyone else is struggling because they're trying to enter too late, or they're trying to ignore it. Right. And the main thing is I recognized the next wave and pivoted into AI early. Back then, however, it was you had to do a lot more math and to figure it out. It's way easier now. But since then, because I saw the early signs of it 10 years ago, and that's the path that everyone was doing, you're only seeing the results now in 2026. But what followed by me doing that early is the patents. You go up and look at the patents I have, over 20 of them. the recruiter attention to literally they reach out to me as opposed to everyone else is setting up resumes to avoid and never getting feedback and much higher salary because they've seen the track record, they've seen the patterns, they've seen the work I've done over the past and was able to get results and they want to replicate that. So pretty much the real lesson here is not smarter, not being smarter than everyone. I'm not saying that what I'm able to do is not something that's not achievable by anybody else. It's just that I recognize that I moved early. So now when everyone's trying to figure it out, I've already put basically cemented my place there and people are coming to me. And anyone who recognizes the wave, the next wave, and actually pivot early, they have the same types of results as well. So let me walk you through the framework. So here's part one of this. One thing I want to mention right now is that the junior market specifically is overcrowded. There's way too many applicants. And again, back in the 2020 to 2022, the tutorial culture we have here, that exploded. Basically, literally millions were trained identically with the exact same skill sets. And it flooded the market, became saturated. And then AI came and basically changed every entry level work because now you're automating the beginner tasks that the juniors were doing. So basically the bottom rung itself, that reality is crowded as ever. It's saturated and it's basically you can't stick out at that point. And that's what I wanted to point out because there's a very important distinction. I said out here, the important distinction here that coding itself isn't dead. What actually is not working right now is learning to code, which was pretty much the narrative back in 2020 to 2022. That leverage itself, that is not really like the selling factor that gets companies excited anymore because AI changed that. So just understand the coding itself is not dead. Just I know how to code, learning to code, that's not leverage anymore. Here's basically framework part two of this. And basically where is the next wave? And the next wave is AI engineering. It's not prompt engineering like you probably hear a lot last year where people say I'm a prompt engineer, they're making 200K. I heard story people making 300K. It's basically real production AI. What does real production AI engineers mean? What does that mean? Basically building systems, fine tuning models, and deploying AI products. And right now, why it's high in dynamics and it's exploding at the moment is because every company wants AI and not just deep tech, like literally every company wants to incorporate AI into their actual workflows or their systems. And right now, again, basic economics, supply is small, is very low, and demand is really high. So because the skill set is new, that also means that it could demand high salary. Salary reality right now, 200K plus for even at 3 points, if anyone to prove they can do it. And why it's so competitive right now, because it's such a small supply and high demand. You want to make it attractive to say, come work for us and build our solutions as opposed to going to somewhere else. Again, like anything, it comes in waves. So this won't stay open forever. You want to hop on the wave, get your foothold there, basically capitalize on that, and also become like the authority in that space. So when it actually levels out and everyone's trying to flood the market like it was with learning to code, you already have your foothold and you're the go-to person at that point. So what I'm going to mention here is part three of this framework. Basically, who has the advantage? Who has the unfair advantage, what I would say? And that would be mid-career professionals. They have the biggest advantage. Why? Because they already have strong backgrounds in backend, DevOps, data. They have domain experience and they were shipped real products and have worked on real projects. So they know how it all comes together. And why they win much faster is because they already understand systems itself. So people coming out is straight out of doing computer science, never worked on a real project, still trying to figure out why my code doesn't compile because I forgot to put a semicolon. And the thing is, that's the massive advantage that you have already real shipping experience. So the key comparison right now is pretty much a production engineer versus a fresh grad. Just knowing the concept of AI is not the same thing. Using that in a real production with domain experience that companies work for. So you understand the business needs, you know what the definition of success is, you know what the pain points are, you know the jargon of it, and you know how to optimize for system and deliver real products. Now you're just tacking AI on top of that. That's how you stand out and have companies coming towards you. Here's part four of the framework. And it's basically instead of learning to code like it was the narrative back in 2020 to 2022, what should you learn instead? Well, I'll show you the framework right here. Step one, do learn coding fundamentals. That doesn't mean learn every single trick and, oh, I could write this one line much more efficiently than the other. Instead of like loops, I could use like list comprehension or something like that. I mean, that's cool to know and all that, but remember, it's a tool, and is the fact of knowing those little tricks itself is not what gets you the job. Mainly, you need to know enough of the fundamentals so you can get to the next step, which is basically learn the AI ML stack. So you understand how that works in itself. Then, once you know in general the back, like how that works in general, then you learn the more modern deployment frameworks, what's working today. Because again, when I was starting out 10 years ago, this stack like, didn't exist really. You had the concepts. There's a lot of papers coming out, but you had to build out those frameworks yourself. Then other things came out and they're made, and now again, you had to be like a researcher back then. So you had to know the math, you had to know the coding, you have to be able to compile it, you have to know if you wanted that wait weeks or months or for things to come to actually work. You have to learn the GPU to optimize that. So you have to know some computer skills as well for that. Now, modern frameworks, they already have models already built. So this is to understand the concepts, but it's kind of like you go to school, you learn multiplication, your multiplication tables, you learn how to do long division. In real life, no one ever sits down and write out the entire paper how to do long division. You just use a calculator. That is kind of like, I would say very similar here is that here, yeah, you're learning how to do long division to understand it, the AI ML stack, but in reality, you're just going to use the frameworks that's already built, but you need to understand the the configurations and the values and the parameters in here by knowing the fundamentals. That's why you learn this. And step four is actually have a portfolio proving your execution and having a real world portfolio, not again going back to 2020 to 2022, where everyone has the same toy projects, the same examples a million times. It doesn't really stick out. And this is why I'm saying mid career professionals who have real work experience, they know the real world problems, they know the pain points, they know the definition of success and what impact and the jargon in their industry. So you have a portfolio that proves that problem in that space, and you're using AI and relevant code to basically solve that solution, to have a solution for that problem. That's going to get attention. Then once you have that in place, then you could actually have a targeted job strategy of actually becoming the signal from the noise. How do you cut the noise and become the actual source of truth and like have people stick out from everyone else of the pool of people trying to apply for the same type of jobs, but you're showing, oh, you actually have competency because you actually have a real portfolio. You actually in that space and work on it, work in that field. You're actually going to get paid. Your people will pay attention to you in that case, and that's the major mindset shift that I'm trying to get people to understand is that you want to think as more of a AI engineer as the end goal, and coding is pretty much the tools you need to achieve that goal, as opposed to I want to be a coder and learn coding for the sake of coding. It's a lot of and that's fine as well if you like that, but back in the 2020 to 2022, when they're into code, people, let's say Python, for example, they want to be Pythonistas and they want to just, it's kind of like a hammer looking for a nail. They have a problem, a solution looking for a problem where no matter what it is, I want to use coding, I want to use Python, I want to do everything about that as long as I'm coding. Whereas, well, we're trying to solve a problem, we want to be an AI engineer and solve a problem using AI. Coding just happens to be the tool set to solve that. So it's pretty much supporting that as opposed to I want to code and just look for that's the solution. Let me look for a problem for that, right? Basically, avoid the old path. What I'm saying is don't go in and learn every single trick of coding for the sake of coding, and don't like wait 3 years to master every little thing. Understand what you need, especially if you're already mid-career. You have most of the work already done because that's what's needed. You just need to fill the gap and just learn what you need pretty much just in time to get it. So that's the much better strategy than learn coding as a tool. And again, my core philosophy is just in time learning. Learn what you need to get by, and then go to the next step with it instead of going too deep in one idea or framework and go down a rabbit hole and for a lot of things you don't actually need. and you don't move forward. You need to move the needle forward. Here are some things that people usually ask regarding this subject. First one, AI, that's just a bubble. That's what a lot of people just say. But one thing I like to say about that is that every tech wave, people said the exact same. It's just a bubble. And history repeats itself. Look at the internet, 1998, that time period. Oh, that's just a bubble. Look on it right now. You're on the internet right now watching this, right? Then the next thing was mobile devices. Oh, that's just a fad. Well, most likely 85% of people who are watching videos and social media are on mobile devices. You're probably on that right now. And the other one as well is cloud. Cloud is just a word that everyone used back in like late 20, like 2017, around that area. Well, most likely, again, you're watching this video that's being served off a cloud right now. And right now, though, the wave is AI. People are saying the same thing. It's just a bubble. And just like all those other times, the ones who actually win were the early movers, while the skeptical wait and say, like, I'll see what happens. And by the time they realize, it's way too late. And the main thing is, even if it's the fad right now and the hype right now is what's cool to say AI and put AI in everything, the main goal of the main takeaway from this is that the infrastructure still, I want to cross that out, infrastructure still remains. It's still the same thing. So even when the hype dies down, the fundamentals of infrastructures haven't changed and it'll still be around. Again, this is why mid-career professionals already have the advantage of this because they understand this already and they might be moving in early on what's cool right now, but they're actually leveraging that and actually increasing their repertoire and making themselves a lot more valuable by learning it early, by being an early mover. And while the skeptics wait on the side and not actually take advantage or capitalize on this new opportunity. The other thing people might be saying is, well, I tried learning this before and I never learn and never stick. The thing is about this, it's that you're learning the old path, which again, that's how I learned 10 years ago, is the academic path. It's all learning the math. In fact, you go on um, universities right now. I mean, information is out there, right? It's just that how you learn it and how the path you learn it, it might not be the most optimized way. You go to universities right now, Stanford, MIT, their courses are free. You can sit down and do the entire course. You won't get the credits for it. It's just as long as with a 3, 4 month course, you do all the, and they won't grade your papers and whatnot. But the concepts are there. But again, it's in academic speak. The words are in there and they're making the concepts a lot more complicated than it needs to be. That even people young adults in early high school can understand these concepts when explained properly. But if you're going to go down to like undergrad, a graduate level, or post grad level of explanation, and all you're seeing a whole bunch of Greek symbols and math, and you don't know what all that means, of course it's going to be hard to learn, right? And that the other thing is the biggest mistake is trying to learn everything. I'm like, oh, there's all these courses, and I have to learn how all this stuff works before you actually go in and build anything. The ones who actually succeed and the better approach are the ones who pick a clear outcome and state the goal at the beginning. And that's why working in having a mid-career professionals and working on real projects, you know that the reason why you're working on projects is because you want a specific outcome. And knowing I want to solve this problem specifically and working backwards of how to do that, you actually learn. And the other thing as well is that you only need to learn what's needed to solve that step to solve your problem. And you can start building immediately. And the other thing about that is also iteration of it. You learn what you need to get by. And of course, your first version, you just learn the baseline to get everything working. And of course, the first version, you're not going to hit a home run. Most likely, a 99.999% of the time, is going to fail and it's going to be terrible. That's normal. Usually, in a lot of other spaces, you call this the MVP or the minimum viable product. Well, in this case, probably a prototype, really. Because the minimum viable product is that it works and it can actually get the job done and you could use it in production to some level. You just don't have like the quality of life and its user experience and all that's not that great. But a prototype is to prove that the concept actually works in this case, right? Now, with that is that you'll see that, okay, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be optimized. It might not do everything better than it does, but at least it's working. And then you can do a postmortem and like look at each step and say, okay, why isn't this working? What did he expect of this step? How could we improve it? And the next iteration, minimum, and I would even stage you say, okay, we're going to fix this part of the step and make it better than the last one. And incrementally you get better. And then you get something working as opposed to sitting down and something working and something that's actually worthwhile and showing that it's at least acceptable to do the task, as opposed to sitting down and try to learn everything first. And honestly, I always say that your best work is your finished work. You can always hear perfectionists say, I'm a perfectionist and I don't want to put anything out there that's bad. Well, the thing is, if that's the case, you'll never put anything at all. That's a lot of people. They just have things sitting on their wall. And I know that's another point is that people are afraid to put things out there because they're afraid of getting criticized, and most likely it will happen, especially something that's not working well. But you'll notice that the ones who do put this stuff out there know it's going to be bad. No one's going to say it's criticized, and actually take those criticism and figure out, okay, what's actually constructive criticism and what those are points that I could improve at the next iteration, improve on it. And little by little, if you improve all those notes, you get something working. But that only works by actually doing something, right? What project have you ever seen where you build the application or you build the suggested solution and it worked on the first version? That's why you see every software, they're at version like 230, whatever, or 58, because the 57 tries before they tried it and they noticed there's something that they need to improve on. So they made another version. How many version of software you've seen that is only version one ever made and it was perfect out the gate? That's not how you do it. And you shouldn't approach learning that way either. You go out, try it, see what happens in the real world conditions, and then course correct and adjust accordingly as long as you're moving forward. That's why it's very important to start with a goal and then work backwards from that point. And because you actually know where you're actually going at that point. That's why you want to pick a clear outcome, because that will basically give you the definition of success. And it also give you the metric of, yes, I'm moving towards the goal. When I try to make this version, did it achieve the goal? No, why not? Let me adjust that. Try again until you actually hit it. I want to reiterate, and stress why timing matters. And it's so important right now because the market signal right now is career switch is 200K plus offers. And that why for that, again, supply and demand, simple economics. There's a high demand for this and there's very little supply of people able to do this. And so is a current imbalance right now. Very small talent pools actually able to execute it with proven skills that they can execute it. Yes, there's job opportunities out there, and you can go on LinkedIn right now and you'll see every day there's a lot of jobs that are asking for very similar roles to what you've seen before, but they just add AI on top of it, and literally thousands of applicants apply for it. Yes, there's a lot of people applying for it, but there's the actual talent that actually could execute on it, very small. And that's why there's a huge role demand and they're paying higher salary because they know there's very few people who could do it. So to attract them, you want to get the people and basically give them an incentive to do so, right? But like anything else, it won't last forever. Again, simple economics. It's high demand, very low supply. So the market's credit flat, get crowded very fast, but then it eventually levels out because other people are able to do it. It's understood better. And basically it closes a lot faster than expected. And that's what happened with every single tech wave going back to the .com, with the internet when it came out. Every company realized, yeah, we needed a website. Then it was mobile. And like everybody, yeah, we needed an app. And then it's a cloud. Everything has to be on the cloud now. And so basically you have to understand the current opportunities right now. And that's why the timing matters, because it's early stage AI wave. You want to jump on it and ride that wave, because if you're not riding the wave, you're going to be swept under it. If you're interested and you want to know the exact path that I take, and I'm currently teaching other mid-career professionals and also some beginners as well, just they understand that it's a longer runway because they have a lot more to pick up at the beginning as well. You can look into the link in the description if this actually interests you for yourself. And what it actually includes is the 6-step AI roadmap. And who is this for? Again, aimed specifically more for mid-career professionals. Yes, you can do it as a beginner. Just want to stress and iterate, understand it's a much longer runway. So as long as you understand that, and you're willing to put in the work for that, just understand that it can work as well. And again, this is the same path that I still currently do myself and showing others how to get the current outcomes of what's happening right now and leveraging on the opportunity right now where you have 200K plus AI offers. So you're interested, link in the description.